Howdy my friends, today I'm filming a review for Raid on Cygnosa, an adventure by Dark City Games, a pre-programmed paragraph-based adventure. You can play it solitaire, you can play it with a group as an RPG. You'll simply move from paragraph to paragraph, following the story, a fantasy story, making choices, deciding what to do next. And from time to time, quite often actually in this adventure, you will encounter combat that you will resolve on a hex grid map, a map divided using a hex grid. I hope that the sound, the audio is good. I'm filming from a little place, from a little square in Italy, in Pavia. I thought you may enjoy seeing the landscape, but I hope that you can still hear me, because that's kind of the point. Raid on Cygnosa, a fantasy adventure where there are people with tiger head and all sorts of monsters. The story, the reason for the adventure is not particularly original. There are other adventures by the same publisher with the same idea, but heck, how many times you played an adventure where you were looking for a treasure or trying to capture a criminal? This is precisely what you're doing here. The latter, not the former. You're looking for a criminal, you're trying to catch this bad guy who is hiding who knows where. Well, you kind of have a general idea, but then you still have to assemble a party of heroes and go on your way and look for the bad guy. I will not show you the counters representing the monsters that you will encounter in the game and you will have to fight against, so that you don't have any spoilers, but I will tell a little bit about the story, the flow and the feel of the story. Yes, you assemble your party of heroes, of 4 heroes to start with, but as I read the description, the rules, it says that you could have a party up to 6 characters, and that was strange to me because I don't remember adventures by the same publisher where you can increase the number of characters in your party. And indeed there are ways and opportunities in the story to recruit new people, to hire some help, or just to convince people to join you, which you will need to do because there is a lot of fighting. This is an adventure that is pretty hard. Actually, it's probably one of the hardest adventures by Dark City Games that I played. Your characters, your initial characters, at least some of them are likely to die. I hope it's not too much of a spoiler if I tell you hire as much help as you can, because you will need it. There's a lot of combat to resolve here. And this also affects or gives a certain specific feel to the general flow of the game. There is a lot of fighting, there are a lot of battles to resolve. The adventure is, in terms of narrative complexity, not very complex, meaning that the story is pretty much move to one place, resolve a fight, decide where to go next. The chances are that there will be another battle you need to resolve, move to the board, resolve the fight, move around a little bit, find the next fight, continue like that. To me, that the pluses and minuses, it was a little bit of a minus for me because I like adventure. I like adventures that, yes, do have the combat part. It's a mini war game that you're playing there between episodes of the story or as part of an episode of a story. But I also like other aspects. I also like to have stories that present different situations. What, for lack of a better words, I could maybe call puzzles. There is a door that could be opened in different ways. It doesn't have to be a riddle exactly or a puzzle exactly, but things that you can interact with in a variety of ways. There's a strange figure in a corner. Is that a ghost? Is that a real person? And there are many options that you can have. If you can think of RPGs, adventures in which you were confronted with something mysterious and you had options which were different from talk, try to hide, or attack. And the choices here are mainly limited to those. When you encounter people, you can talk, attack, run away. There are a couple of other things, but the most interaction you have is with other characters as opposed to, say, elements of the landscape, mysterious things, mysterious elements. And then, of course, you have choices based on where to go. So it felt a little similar from part to part in the progression. It really was like move, fight, move, fight. The fights are interesting though. There's a huge variety of monsters, enemies. My impression, and maybe just my impression, is that there were more creatures that you have to fight, more types, different variety from creatures that come from the sky and people and monsters that come in different ways against and use different skills to try to slaughter you. I'm trying not to give you too many spoilers here, but there's a good variety when it comes to the wargaming aspect of the story. It is the story that is not very multi-layered, it is not narratively sophisticated, maybe that's a way of saying it. However, there's an aspect of the writing of the story, narratively speaking, that really is good and really shines, which is the way in which the author or the authors have managed to create a variety of different settings. The story is divided in, if you want, chapters. You are moving and fighting in areas that, as the story progresses, are different from one another. What you do is not incredibly different, but the environment is, at the beginning of the game, classic. You are in a little village, town kind of place where you hire people and buy weapons, you know the deal. Then you start climbing on a mountain where you have a certain type of encounter, a certain type of enemy. Then there's another area, and then you enter a sort of subterranean world with caves and systems of caves and areas that do feel different. Sort of like groups of rooms, groups of places where, again, more or less, you get attacked or not attacked, you attack or things like that. But they feel different. It gave me the sense of like a video game in which I was really moving from level to level, from area to area. I'm thinking of Resident Evil 4, my favorite video game probably. First you're in a little village, and certain type of fight, then you find yourself in a different town, then you're in a castle, then you're in the mine, then you're trying to do this and that, then you're on a boat. A lot of different places. The adventure is pretty long. Probably if you're playing it as an RPG, you will want to break it down in a session or two. Even as a solitaire player, probably this is the best thing to do. Otherwise, it may get a little monotonous, it may get a little exhausting. On the other hand, of course, more value for your money. There's a lot of adventures, a lot of fighting, a lot of battles, a lot of situation and encounters that you have here. Really, there are other games by the same publisher that were much shorter. This is probably not just one of the hardest to beat that I found, but also one of the longest. It took me the longest to solve, to complete, which is, again, good value for your money. That is a plus. So Raid on Cygnosa, I think these are more or less the main things that I wanted to say. It's good, not great. Not maybe the best one that there is in the system, but a pretty solid one. You have a pretty standard fantasy adventure with a very, very heavy component on fighting and resolving combat in a tactical system. If you enjoy this, I think that this definitely will meet your requirements. There are other adventures that are more narratively sophisticated with more things to do. For example, Gates to the Underworld by the same publisher, which still is probably my favorite game in the system. Raid on Cygnosa, really not a bad one, a pretty good one, not my favorite one, but for somebody who's looking for pre-programmed adventures, RPGs, solitaire adventures with a fantasy theme, definitely a very palatable choice.